Hey guys, welcome back to CarBuyer.com.sg. I'm here with the Mercedes-Benz EQA, the brand's smallest, least expensive electric vehicle, which is just launched in Singapore. Find out all you need to know about it in our news video.
Buy and sell cars smarter, better and faster on our marketplace UCars, with thousands of great deals available from dealers island-wide.
So what is the EQA? Well, you might recall that earlier in the year, Mercedes launched the EQC, which is a mid-size, fully electric SUV. If that is an AA battery, then this is the AAA battery. This is a slightly smaller, it's a small SUV, fully electric as well as the EQ name suggests. Now, there is currently one model on sale here in Singapore. That's the EQA 250 AMG Line, $223,000 with CUE and VES. Later on, there will be a few more variants. There'll be the Edition 1, there'll be the Electric Art, and there will be the progressive versions. Those will come in a few months' time. Internationally, there's also the EQA 300, EQA 350, both the all-wheel drive, more powerful versions, but those will come further on down the road. If the EQA looks a little bit familiar, that's because it's based on the GLA. So both the cars have the same MFA2 platform and also look rather similar in design. But of course, this being a Mercedes EQ model, fully electric model, there are some unique touches here. So Mercedes EQ, one of the hallmarks is a full width light bar. And if you come in closer, you can see this blue strip above the headlights. In other models, in other brands, that denotes a laser headlight, but in Mercedes, that denotes a fully electric car. And also we have the typical EV design language where everything's kind of blocked off for a smoother airflow all around. So they call this the black panel grille. Two louvers here, but you see that all the gaps have all kind of been filled up, and that's to make the airflow a little bit cleaner. So overall, this is a little bit more slippery than the GLA is. I think 0.30 coefficient of drag come down to 0.28. So every little bit counts when it comes to electric vehicles and range. And down here, of course, so I said earlier, this is the AMG line model. So we got our AMG lower splitter here. We also have these little air curtains, again, smoothing out the airflow all around. And if you come around the side here, we have 19-inch aero design wheels. Of course, the Edition 1 has nicer rose gold wheels with lots of little spokes. I think contributing editor David Koo likes that version better than this one. Okay, similar again to the GLA overall, but here we have the special EQ touches. What is so fashionable these days, the full width light bar. Come close and have a look. This looks almost like a little ribbon. And again, we see that in the front, and now we see that on the back of the car as well. But one of the differences between this and the GLA is less boot space. So the rule of EVs is, where does the battery go? So the battery is actually in the center of the car, and there are power electronics under here. So you can see this boot a little bit smaller than the GLA's boot. So 340 liters compared to 400 plus liters on the GLA. So if you're planning on carrying a lot of stuff, or maybe, you know, something like a mountain bike, you might want to plan ahead if you're going to get an EQA. So we talked about where does the battery go. That actually has an effect on interior space. So outside, again, looks just like a GLA. Inside, a little bit different, a little bit smaller. So if you notice, and come in close here, notice that my knees are actually quite high, almost like I'm in the back of an MPV. There's that space here. You know why? Because underneath my feet is the battery pack. Yeah, so the battery is under my feet. If I sit up here, not a huge amount of headroom, but remember that the GLA itself, the previous one didn't have that much of headroom. The new one does have pretty good headroom, but it feels kind of like the old car here, just a little bit of headroom. Not a huge deal, but again, something to keep in mind if you're considering this electric car. And of course, you're probably wondering how far can this car go? Under my feet, 66.5 kilowatt hour battery pack. As it's homologated in Singapore, you could probably do about 400 kilometers because it consumes 16.2 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, works out to about 400 plus clicks. All right, interior of the EQA, let's start her up. Of course, silent because it's an electric vehicle. And as far as I know, it doesn't have the Wong start sound like some EVs do. Of course, if you look at this, again, very, very similar to the GLA and the compact Mercedes cars that we've seen, like the A-Class, the B-Class, CLA, and so forth. So we've got the dual screen, dual widescreen cockpit, both 10.25-inch displays, very clear, quite easy to use, sharp graphics. If they're EQ-specific touch here, that's only in the menu system. Let's look for that. Where's my EQ bit? Okay, so EQ, and that part will show you all the stuff like, you know, how far is my range, what is my state of charge, like that. But also another interesting thing about this car, okay, all right, there's this AMG Line wheel, part of the AMG Line variant as well, of course, and special pedals as well. Can't really see that in the dark, of course. But I would like to draw your attention to the lovely lighting. So we have our typical Mercedes turbine vents. Can you come in close here? See the lights, very lovely. Ooh, but of course, a different part of this car, the EQA, is this panel right here. So they have what they call a spiral backlit panel, and this is only on the EQA itself. Okay, right now you're probably wondering about charge time. The maximum DC fast charge rate for this car is 100 kilowatt, quite standard for a car of this size and segment as a fully electric. That will bring you up to 80% in about half an hour. And in Singapore's normal 50 kilowatt fast chargers, that will take you closer to about an hour for an 80% charge. At home, 11 kilowatt AC charging will take about 6 hours. So very much in the range for an EV of this size. And we'll just pull up the specs here. Very normal performance as well. There's a single motor in the front, 180 horsepower, close to 190, 375 newton meters of torque. Of course, this car is a bit heavy, 2 tons, but all within very much the normal guidelines of what I expect an EV of this price and size to do. So should you buy a Mercedes-EQ EQA? Well, at $223,000, it's almost 40%, no, sorry, it's almost 20% more expensive than the regular GLA, which is about 180 grand here in Singapore. You would only buy it if you have somewhere to charge and if you don't mind paying a little bit more, despite all the rebates that electric vehicles get. But here's why you would want to buy one soon. Well, in 2022, Mercedes will have an electric car in every segment that it's in. 2025, it'll have an electric version of every model it currently sells. And in 2030, it will completely stop selling combustion cars altogether. Same timeline for Singapore. I think by about 2030, most of the combustion cars will be phased out. New ones won't be sold here anymore. So that's why you would want to buy an EQA right now. So if you do have the money and the motivation to buy an EQA, should you still buy it? Wait for our review on carbuyer.com.sg and check out the website for news, reviews, and more content involving motoring in Singapore. Thanks for watching.
Click here to subscribe and click here for more car reviews. You can also check out our marketplace and book a test drive.